Hello, our lovely Girl Awakening listeners. Welcome to 2023. I'm Jo Hendy from the Sacred Sister Project.
I'm Amanda Parker of Mayala Organics.
Come with us as we journey into this week's Awakening episode.
I talk to a spirit. She comes in my dreams. She teaches me lessons.
Here we are again. Hello, Amanda.
Hi Jo, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. I'm doing real good. It's hot here on the Gold Coast today.
So hot.
Yeah. Hot in here. We've got a cute guest today.
Very beautiful.
Powerful.
Yeah. We're going to introduce our guest today, Brooke Chamberlain. She grew up in a small country town of Austinville, lived on the Gold Coast for several years where I was lucky enough to meet her, and moved from here to the big city of Los Angeles, the city of dreams, which I think is kind of fitting because Brooke dreams big. Yeah. Welcome, Brooke.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. How lucky are we to snap you up while you're here for a short amount of time?
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me on today's podcast.
Yeah. So this is a great opportunity to kind of walk on the other side that most of us don't really get. We kind of dream. We dream about these things, I think, when we're younger, but none of us really ever follow through with them. Like, one day I want to be an actress or a singer or a dancer or something like that, and we don't really follow through. So this is a beautiful opportunity for you to share, what's inside Brooke.
What takes.
Yeah, what does it take?
That little girl from the small town of
Austinville,
to travel across the world in pursuit of her dreams.
Yeah, I mean, I probably wouldn't have ever expected to end up in LA, but I'm trying to think of when the first time I really had a love for acting. I remember doing drama in high school and loving it, but being a small country town girl, you don't really think that it's possible. You think living in Hollywood or something is like, for the rich and famous. It doesn't seem like something that's accessible to the rest of us small town folks. But yeah, I moved to the Gold Coast at 18, and I started doing a little bit of acting, and I just fell in love with it, and I did it for a few years, and then I kind of fell out of it. And then when I was probably about 5-6 years ago now, I just came back to it, and I was like, I just always had this passion for it, and I tried a bunch of other things, but nothing else really made me excited or challenged or necessarily really happy. And so I was like, you know what, if I want to take this seriously, I'm just going to move to LA, because why not?
So
back yourself.
So I decided to back myself.
That's so exciting. So we're going to kind of just jump straight in and ask you the big question.
Perfect.
So how did your awakening begin, and where did it begin?
That is a great question. I guess a big awakening for me, I'd always had a really beautiful life, really loving, great parents. And my father was in a cycling accident about 7 years ago now. And in the cycling accident, he was left in a vegetative state. And so, you go through this whole stage of, is he gonna pull through? Is he not? And the doctors come in and they tell you that there's a 94% chance that if he wakes up, he'll be in a vegetative state.
Wow.
And the 50% chance that he won't wake up. So,
how old are you, Brooke, when this happened?
That's a good question. I think I was 25.
So still in your 20s, still quite
young. I was in my mid-20s, But yeah, I think that, you don't know whether they're going to pull through or not. So I went on this 2.5-year journey where my dad was left in a vegetative state, and we did so much research on the brain as a family, trying to figure out, how the brain works. And I had no doubt for the first year of his accident that would get a miracle.
Yeah.
And that was, I guess I probably needed the hope to kind of keep going. But now I look back and I'm like, there really, wasn't a hope. But I think that what I learned in that time was something so beautiful, which is to appreciate your quality of life.
Yes.
Wow.
A very hard opening way to have to step into that learning curve as well, isn't it?
Yeah, I think, people go through life and we forget to appreciate the small things, like being able to have a conversation in a podcast here and being able to drink tea and eat food with your friends.
Yeah.
because looking at my dad not being able to talk or eat or have any form of communication other than blinking, you realize how lucky we are to have our health and to, you know, see someone that you looked up to your whole life being my father, all of a sudden have no quality of life. I was like, wow, you know, it's completely taken away.
Ultimate surrender, isn't it?
Yeah, and so it's like you have to appreciate every single day that you're healthy and that you have your loved ones around you, because you never know when it's going to change.
Yeah, and it's a it's a real whack, you know, and it's like, but it's like a quick way to wipe all the shit away from your life, you know, all that stuff that you thought was important, it's all of a sudden
you just
not
realize
important.
You're like, none of that matters. Like, you know, all that matters is who are you as a person, and are you kind, and are you a good person, and are you hanging out with other people that are also good people, you know, like none of the other stuff matters. But what a great although, you know, everything happens for a reason. Some people don't like that, but from what you've learned from that experience to where you are now is just so empowering, you know, for you as a young woman. Of course.
Walk away with that knowledge.
I think with the thing of everything happens for a reason is, even when bad things happen, there's something beautiful that we can learn from it. Yeah. And it's what you take away from it. And I always say tragedy either makes us bitter or better, and the choice is up to you.
Oh, I like that.
Writing that. It's a good one. It's a good one. But you know, and the choice is ours, and sometimes it's obviously a harder choice to make, but
especially in grief as well, like, you know,
of course,
losing someone that's in your heart.
It's not easy, and it's even, you know, he's passed away 5 years now, and I still miss him and have my moments where I'm like, I'm fine, and, you know, other moments where I'm like, I'm not okay. I still miss him. I'm still that little girl that needs her dad. You know, and so it's a journey that I think never ends, because grief it's kind of a never-ending thing that we experience.
Just keeps transitioning,
like a piece of your heart has been taken, and that can't really be replaced.
No, really. I think sometimes we maybe look to replace it in ways, you know, we all go through the stage where we're craving that love from the person that we're missing, and you're never going to get it. Because everyone gives you their own kind of love. Absolutely, it's so true. We're just talking about that before, about essence. The essence of each individual is so unique. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you look at your friend groups, you have different friends that bring you different parts of joy in your life. Absolutely. No one's the same, you know. Yeah. So on this journey of discovering around the brain and everything that you were talking about, what kind of things can you share with the listeners too about what you learnt in there, like that had you broaden your awareness around that? Yeah. Well, basically, in my research on the brain, and forgive me if I say this, you know, in a dulled down sense, but basically what I learned is that we recycle our thoughts from day to day. Yep. And when we think positive thoughts, we grow new neurons in our brain. And when we think negative thoughts, we burn little black holes in our brains, and they can come up on scans. Yeah. So I started to learn about this, and I was like, and they talk about the new neurons as like trees in our brain. They grow, and they're like trees. And so my mum and I would start, when we got negative, we'd be like, we don't want holes, we want trees. We want trees in our brain. Yeah. Trees in the black holes. We want, so
that's pretty incredible thought.
And unless we change our thought patterns, which is so hard to do when you're in a rut of something, but unless we change them, you're going to recycle the thoughts. If you're thinking something negative all day today, you're going to, 90% chance you're going to keep thinking about it the next day and the next day. That's why when you're in a bad headspace, it's so hard to get out of it. And when you're in a positive headspace, you feel on top of the world, and like little things happen, you're like, it doesn't matter. Whereas if you're in a bad headspace and something little happens, it really bothers you because you're already in that dark place. So absolutely, I think I just started working really hard and being like, my thoughts are so powerful, and anytime I had a negative thought, I replaced it with 3 positive ones. Wow. So I feel like I almost rewired my brain over time to be, look at life more positively and appreciate the day-to-day things and just be happy. I've had arguments with people, well, not me, but I had an argument with someone back in Los Angeles because he got mad at me for being too happy all the time. Oh. And I was like, he's like, dare you? He's like, you can't be this happy all the time. And I was like, I choose to be happy because of the stuff that I've seen,
Yeah.
you know, and years later he's come back and he's like, I'm so sorry for having a go at you about that. I just realized I wasn't happy myself, and I couldn't understand how someone could be happy all the time when I was, you know, 90% of the time not happy.
Yeah.
And so it's when we're in those states, it's hard to kind of see other people in a positive light too, because you're like, oh, I don't feel like that.
Yeah.
So you have to work really hard to change your thoughts.
Absolutely.
You do. And people aren't used to people being happy all the time either. Like, that's just, like, you just really highlighted a key point there. Like, people don't believe it's possible to be happy all the time. Like, they question that it's real, that it's must be fake, that you aren't being genuine. You know, you're not. How can you sit in that space? Because and then for him to realize that it actually wasn't you, it was him.
That's a massive shift. Yeah.
Most people don't ever come to that realization when they, as you say, they're kind of hardwired into the opposite because of how their brain is.
Yeah, how they've been wired. And
yeah.
I mean, you know, you're not going to be happy every second of the day, all day, every day, but it's a conscious decision that you're mostly going to be happy, you know, and when things happen, you have a choice to dwell on it or move past it and be like, okay, what lesson did I need to learn from this horrible little thing that happened to me just now? Or, you know,
process it, acknowledge it.
Yeah. And I think, like, also I'm big on manifesting. So I believe, like, you know, when you think negative things, you're attracting more negative things into your life. I know people that will say things like people always let them down, or and then people always do because they're putting that out there in the universe. And you know, so you kind of, your words are so powerful, you're getting back what you put out. Absolutely. And I strongly believe that.
Yeah, this is already a message on repeat.
Absolutely.
Isn't it, for this year? Like, we're hearing consistently that awareness around words being spells.
Yeah.
And the power of your words.
And the energy behind them. You know, the energy is even probably, or the frequency is even more important.
Absolutely.
That's what's going out.
You can say, I'm really happy, but if you're not, you're not putting out happy energy, that's for sure.
Absolutely.
And I catch myself too. I'll be like going through a rough time. I'm like, I know I'm manifesting negative things right now, and I can't stop because I'm spiraling. So I definitely have my moments. But
but it's beautiful that you can be honest about that. You know, I'm not in a good place right now, and this is where I'm at, but I'll get through it.
Yeah. I think knowing that no matter where you are in life, if you're going through a hard time and you think like it's the end of the world, you can always come through it. And I've been through a year of depression before. Quite a while ago, before anything ever happened with my dad. And so when the accident happened with my dad, I said I'll allow myself to get upset and grieve and all these things, but I refused to allow myself to get depressed.
Yeah, right.
And I was like, what do I need to do so I don't end up back in that place that I've been in before? And so then it's also being like, okay, what have I got to put in place to pull myself out of this negative spot? And exercise is a big one.
Yeah, because Brooke is like, we're already getting a insight into how strong and brave Brooke is, but if you've ever seen her in a gym, far out. Next level.
And she's like, for you guys that can't actually see her, she's petite, she's tiny.
And she's like super toned.
Lifting big weights. I got this.
Thanks, guys.
Kettle. You're not tough, I'm tough. I need to look at a kettle and feel a burn.
Hey, I'll take it, but I have definitely prioritized exercising. I need it for my mental health.
I'm with you. I'm one of those people too that I really feel good about myself, and my mind's healthier when I've done a good walk, or, you know, just done some exercise, or
absolutely
shifted energy.
It's so important for you. And, you know, you might be feeling, you never feel bad after a workout. You could be in a bad mood, you go do a workout and you're like, you know what, I feel better.
And it's sometimes, you know, we laugh because it's 5 or 4:30, my alarm will go off and I'm like,
that's the worst.
I really don't feel like it today. But I know that I'm going to feel better after. So just get your ass out of bed.
And that's the other thing. If you struggle to get up and get your ass out of bed, it's good to make a deal with a friend where you both go together, because I find if I'm meeting someone for a workout then I will go. I will never say I'm going to do something and not do it.
Yeah. Accountability.
Yeah. So if you struggle with that, find a workout buddy.
Okay, so we're going to jump back to, so you're looking after Dad and you're studying stuff around the mind because you want to understand it more from what your dad's going through, and your mum have, you know, you've made up this little pact together around positive, negative thoughts. What's happening for Brooke when all this is happening? I know you said you that you had to like keep yourself at a healthy mindset basically the whole way through it. How long did this go on for? How long were you in this state with your dad for?
So basically, he was in a vegetative state for 2.5 years.
Okay. So were you his main carer? Your mum and you?
No.
Or?
So basically, he never came home again.
Okay.
He needed too much care. So he was in the hospital for about the first year, and then he went to a brain injury. The brain injury place in Brisbane. And then he ended up back in a nursing home. Yeah. And he was a doctor and used to visit his patients in these nursing homes. And now, you know, he was a patient there. So I feel like the whole community was pretty rocked because he was a good man and he did a lot of good for the community. So,
well, even being a bike rider, he obviously looked after himself and was healthy and loved the outdoors and all of that.
Yeah, I look back, like my dad has never once in his life been drunk.
Yeah.
Wow.
He was just like, I saw what alcohol did to people and I was like, I refuse to, you know, ever be intoxicated. And he just kind of spent his whole life helping people and being a positive. I remember when I was 15, I got suspended from school for getting drunk at the school dance. And my dad, he's never yelled at me. He just said to me, I'm so disappointed in you. And he didn't talk to me for a week.
That's worse,
which is worse. I felt terrible.
Yes.
But he vowed until I was like 18 to not drink in front of me, as to be a good role model.
Wow.
And so he didn't ever drink any alcohol in front of me.
Yeah.
And before that, he would have like one beer here and there.
Yeah.
But not that it did anything, because I was still a teenager having her fun. But you know, he vowed
incredible
to
respect for your dad for like wanting to set that intention around his
exactly. And I think when our parents teach us things, when we're a teenager, we don't really listen. No. But when you become an adult and start to move out and live life on your own, the core values that your parents teach you really come back into play, and you start to appreciate it and realize how important that is. But yeah, I feel like I've drifted from that question.
That's all right. We'll pull you back, Annie. We'll pull you back.
Pull me back.
Well, it's going with the feeling. It's kind of which is what we do a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're the 2 years. So then your dad is now in home, and he eventually passes. Sorry to hear that, and to know that. Where were you then? Were you still here? Were you?
So I was basically still on the Gold Coast at the time that he passed away, and it was I think just under a year after that I moved to LA.
Okay.
And it was kind of bittersweet when he passed away, because I'm one of 4 kids, and all of us played our little part in helping mum and you know, being in the nursing home all the time, and it's draining. So it was bittersweet because he's now at peace and not in pain. Yeah. And we all got to live our lives again, and mum got to, you know, have a little freedom again and all of that. So,
and that's a reality, isn't it? Because you know, there's so many situations now, like with adult dementia and things like that, where people have someone they love very much is still alive but not present. And our ideal is to be caring for them forever, but it's not what they would ever want, is it? Like your dad.
No, they wouldn't want that. And that's the thing. Like when someone close to you passes away, like I felt this strong thing of I need to live life to the fullest for him as well, because he can't live it, and like I want to go live a happy, good life and make him proud. So I just had this new kind of outlook on life that, you know, you got to go after what you want, and I decided to have a yes year.
Yes. Oh, I'm so excited about hearing this.
Within your moral, you know.
Is this is this straight after that? Is this, because I know we talked briefly about a relationship.
Oh yeah, so it's gonna avoid talking about that. Okay, here we go. So when I was going through all the stuff with my dad, I was in a 5-year relationship. Yeah. And I mean, we had our moments, but ultimately he kind of crushed a lot of, and I allowed this to happen, of course, but ultimately crushed a lot of the core of who I was, and I felt like I couldn't really be myself. And over that time, I just felt like I was always walking on eggshells, and I was almost like an animal that had been stuck in a cage.
Yeah.
And so when we broke up, I just felt free.
Yeah.
And I was like, I thought it would be really hard, and the second I left, I was like, that's so easy.
Yeah.
I feel free. Why didn't I
Isn't
do
that
this sooner?
funny? When we're in it, we can't see it.
I know. Well, I think I thought it would be so much harder because I was going through everything with my dad and everything like that. And I was like, oh, I can't go through a breakup and be saying, you know, seeing my dad in the state that he was in every day, because that was my heartbreak, was my father.
Yeah.
But we broke up, and I was like, oh, it's so easy. I could have literally done this years ago. But
it's loyalty, isn't it, though? Like, obviously there's a lot of loyalty there to the relationship.
It is.
And what you felt
5 years
was
is a
there.
long time.
Yeah,
it is. And my mum has said this to me, but also to my detriment. I am very loyal when I'm in something, and I will, you know, give everyone way too many chances and let someone, because I see the best in people.
Yes.
When, you know, you can't always do that. And
to your own demise.
I think, like, I suffered for years in something that didn't really make me happy, with someone who was really essentially emotionally abusive to me.
Yeah.
And would always put me down and say things that, you know, now I look back, I'm like, what was I thinking? But yeah, so then after that breakup, I was like, I'm free. I felt like a bird that had been let out of a cage, and I was like, I'm going to have a yes year and do everything that scares me and see where it takes me. And I just went on the craziest wild ride.
Tell us about it all.
That year, I went on 7 different international trips.
Wow.
I wasn't in the country in Australia for more than 6 weeks at a time. And
so just let's slow down a little bit. So you decided this at the start of the year?
I can't remember
but it was just like...
We actually broke up on my birthday, so it was June.
Okay. And then so what was the actual thing that you decided, that you were going to say yes to everything that was in your best interest?
Yeah, the idea was to get out of my comfort zone, because I'd been living in this, you know, little bubble for so long, and I just... And before that, I'd been in a 10-year relationship, so I'd never known myself as a single woman.
Yes.
And I was 26 at this point, and I was like, no matter how amazing a man is, I am being single for a year.
Okay.
No matter what.
Yes.
And so...
Oh, be careful. It's
it's amazing, because I'm like, Brooke's bringing her power back. She's like claiming, like, because there's this thing with the American Indians. I heard this story. I heard about this particular man, beautiful soul, when he came back from war, and he was just shattered inside because of the things he'd seen, and his community made him stand in this ice cold river up to his waist, and he wasn't allowed out until he found himself. And 3 days later, he comes out, and he's like basically
classic.
Born.
He's a yes man.
Well, no, and I'm hearing Brooke, and I'm going, she's standing in the river, and she's saying yes.
Yeah, this is so cool.
Yeah,
so what was the first? Do you remember the first thing?
Ritual, yeah.
Do you remember the first thing that came? Like the person, someone asked you, or?
I can't really remember. Honestly, it was just I have like a fear of dancing in public, and I was like, I'm gonna do a dance class. I'm terrified of heights. And someone was like, do you want to go skydiving? And I was like, yes, absolutely. So I went skydiving, and it just started with, you know, just simple things, or trying something new each month, being like, I've never really done yoga, so I'm going to go do yoga, and like having different life experiences so that I could just see what else was out there in the world, because I'd always kind of lived life having someone else have an input into it. And I was just like, now I get to purely do what I want when I want, and I'm going to have no one have any say in my life, at least for the next year. Yeah. And so, you know, I'd meet all these great people. I'm like, just so you know, like, I don't want a boyfriend. And boys aren't used to hearing that. So
here's a list of requirements.
And so then I got to a year. I was like, that was so fun. And so then I was like, I need another year.
Wow.
So then I did another year, and then, you know, in that time I traveled so much, and
7 international trips
in that year.
Pretty,
and
expensive,
and I didn't pay for one of them.
Taking you out.
Wow.
This is all
so
complimentary
cool.
trips.
So you were supposed to do that? The universe was saying, we're going
Yeah.
to support you on
in
this.
that.
And just like the most
that
random
expansion.
things. Like I'd been pen pals with this girl who was in
pals.
pen pals.
That's so beautiful.
I don't even know if that's the right term, but she had like messaged me on Instagram and asked me to be like an ambassador for her thing, and she works a lot with UNICEF, and so we just kind of started being pen pals via the internet.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't even know if this person's real, but anyway. And she's like, I'm going to get you to come to Israel, keep January free or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, people like say it. She's like, tourism of Israel will pay for you to come.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, like, whatever.
Yes.
Yeah, sure. And so, anyway, sure enough, like 2 weeks later, I get a phone call from like, it says like Israeli Embassy Sydney calling me and like, hey Brooke, we just want to book your flights. And so I end up,
your visa.
Oh, it's so cool.
I end up getting flown to Israel. And then, so we meant to go in January. And then a week later, I get an invite to go with ASICS on an all expenses paid trip to LA
Wow.
to be
Fantastic.
on this running campaign for ASICS.
Wow.
And they picked 2 people from all different countries around the world.
Oh, Brooke, wow.
And it was in the same week I was meant to be in Israel.
Oh,
And I was like, what are the chances these people want to both fly me to these
Amazing.
cool locations on the same week? And then a week goes by and I'm like, how do I pick? Can't they just change the date on one? And then funny enough, the Israel date got changed till March because it had to be when Fashion Week was on or something. So I ended up being able to do both. So that was 2 of my trips, and I got to go to Israel, and then I ended up...
Which is a pretty awesome country to...
It was
out of the
amazing.
box,
And then through that, she was like, oh, since you do acting, you should audition to host Fashion Week and be a presenter there for this TV show. And I was like, oh, okay, random, but all right. And then, so I auditioned for that, and then I ended up hosting, and then he really liked me, so then he ended up asking me to host Paris and Milan Fashion Week later in the year.
Epic.
And then that all led to me being able to get my visa in America. And so all these things just from me being open to opportunity.
Yeah.
Whereas I was like, are my kidneys going to get stolen? Am I actually going to Israel? Like, is this a real girl?
Yeah.
And now she's still, to this day, one of my dear friends. And I met her in Israel and we gave each other a hug. And I was like, I'm so happy you're real and you're not stealing my kidneys. And
she's looking at you like, what?
Yeah, and she's amazing. I mean, if you ever get a chance to have her on your podcast, but she's Ukrainian.
Oh, fabulous.
But yeah, so she
Take
she
your
just
details, Joe.
has all this pull around the world and makes things happen. So
Can I just ask?
Yeah.
I'm
She
gonna.
has your back, which
does.
I
Yeah.
love. Yeah, I
Yeah.
love that.
What did you learn? Like, what did you learn out of that? Like,
That
there's
saying
so many
yes.
lessons in there. You just talking. There's so many things we could take. There's so much gold in that. What you've just communicated.
So I'm
But
feeling
what
the
did you
flow.
learn
I'm feeling
personally?
flow.
from the trip or just over
No,
the
from you
years?
just being open to yes.
Gotcha. I think when we're open to opportunity will come.
Yeah.
If we're not open to it, it's not going to come, and it comes back to all that same conversation with mindset.
Yeah.
Because we really manifest, the things that we want in life, negatively or positively, even with the things we don't want.
Yeah. Absolutely.
We can manifest it. So it's like learning the power of our thoughts and
it's a balance, isn't it, for both negative and positive. There's no one outweighs the other.
No, and you can manifest both really strongly, and I've done both. Trust me. But yeah, I just learned that you can create the life that you want, and nothing's really impossible.
Yeah.
You can make it happen.
I think it's around that expansion, that expansiveness, even the space that we hold. It's like as soon as we start saying no or have limits on ourselves, we're closing in that expansion. And when we're open to it, like even just you deciding you're going to have a yes year.
Yeah.
It's like straight away your space goes out and starts picking up on all the opportunities.
On a global, that expansive and
Yes.
global. Like
So
it was
powerful.
like not just moving to
and
Sydney.
also not like the thing with manifesting and wanting, having a goal or whatever it is that you're trying to attract in your life is just knowing it'll happen and then letting go of it. Because when you're too attached to the outcome, you don't get it. Like that year I was like, I just really want an all expenses paid trip to the Maldives.
Yeah.
That's what I want.
Yeah.
And then I'd been
Which she
traveling
did get,
all
by the
year,
way.
and I was coming back I was hosting in, I was in London at the time, and I was like, it's October and I haven't had that all expenses paid trip to the Maldives.
Yeah.
I was trying to,
Still putting it out there.
and literally
like 4 days later, I get an email with an invitation to come to the Maldives, all expenses paid.
Wow.
And I was like, you're kidding, but absolutely, I'll be there. I was like, you're gonna have to fly me from Dubai because I'm currently in Paris right now, and then back to Australia. So they flew me from Dubai.
Your diary that year was looking
That's
amazing.
So
yeah, I know. So they flew me out, but then they couldn't get me a flight back because I was only meant to be there for 3 days. Then they couldn't get me a flight back to Australia because they were all booked out. So I ended up being there for 10 days.
Oh, wow.
And in this little water villa, and people were like, did you get bored? I was like, actually, no, it was heaven. I just slept, and I'd been working, doing the hosting, so I'd been working long hours, and it was just like the
So
perfect
universe
little...
was saying you needed this rest. We're going to
Yeah,
give
and
you
I
a
was
few
like,
extra
it's
days.
just so random. And it happened to be that a girl I went to high school with was doing work experience at this resort and
Wow.
working in PR, and was like, oh, I know a girl that could be good, because they were doing like this influencer retreat.
Yeah.
And I have like an interior design Instagram account, so
Yeah,
I
you're
got flown
amazing,
there
yeah.
through that. But it was just interesting how like all these random things happened that I had wanted to
Yeah.
do that year, and you can't be attached to how's it going to happen because we don't know.
Yeah, that's a big one, I think, too. And I'm just sitting here thinking, you know, of you, and thinking that you're an actress, and thinking that being an actress is just, you're in TV shows or movies or stuff, but that's like so expansive in what you're just talking about. I didn't even think that, you know, you're going and hosting Fashion Week and you're doing this and doing that, and how that's all included in that whole word actress.
Yeah, I mean, you can sometimes you do a job and you're like, oh, this is my job. It's so
Yeah.
like, I got to be a stunt driver for Honda in LA, where I was driving the side by sides,
Wow.
and I just got to go in the desert and like do burnouts and like do fun stuff as the stunt driver,
Yes.
and get paid for it. I was like, I would do this for free.
Yeah. Yes.
It's awesome.
Amazing. Well, that's how beautiful your attitude is, and how you keep creating more wonderful things around you. It's just like having that.
I mean,
free
we're in
attitude.
a beautiful gown in Paris for Fashion Week, and then in a leather jacket doing burnouts in the desert. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, it's a very diverse wardrobe.
I've lived a few lives, that's for sure.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
So we're still in the yes year because this is so
Yeah.
much fun.
I mean, oh yeah, okay, yeah, my bad. Take it
No,
back.
go for it.
No, I was going to say, I thought you were asking if I'm still in the yes year,
Oh
right?
yeah, but no.
But no, okay.
We want to
Well,
want to
it-
stay there because it's fun for
I
us.
bet it's become. It's probably just become a way of life for you now. Like
Yeah,
you know,
to an extent.
Yeah.
But I mean, I was just like traveling off doing amazing things. But then when I got to LA, I was like, okay, now I've got to knuckle down and study and prioritize, you know, my acting. Because every weekend I'd have friends that'd be like, do you want to come on a private jet to Vegas?
Yes.
And I'd be like, no, this is a trap. You know, and
Ears, hands over ears. La, 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 la,
Yeah.
I'm not coming.
I'm not hearing
I'm
that.
studying.
I'm
But-
out of my yes year.
Yeah, I've had my 2 years of yes, so now, you know, I'm trying to study, and I wanted to make sure that when I got to LA that I didn't get into the vortex of partying and, you know,
That's a rabbit hole
that whole
too,
world,
isn't it?
because I was like, I've had my years of partying, I've had years of fun and doing all my crazy things I wanted to do, and I traveled alone and, you know, did all those things. So I was like, now's my time to study and knuckle down.
Yeah, that's really lovely, because I'm sure like a lot of people would get caught in that loop, that actress, you know, being famous, being rich, all of those things.
And the networking that happens socially and all that kind of thing to, you know, to be
Sucked in.
the group and that kind
Yeah,
of thing.
and there's an element to being in LA where you have to network, and there's
Yeah.
a benefit from that. But, you know, if you do want to be networking at these things, like, you don't want to be drunk and,
Yeah.
you know, slurring your words, acting like an idiot. You
Yeah.
want to present yourself and how you want to be seen as an actress and
Yes.
taken seriously. So,
Yeah, absolutely.
you know, there's an element to both sides that you want to find a balance of.
And not giving away your sovereignty either. You
It's,
know,
it's,
not
yeah, well,
giving-
it's that staying in power, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which you took on when you did that. Yes, yeah, that's what I just instantly felt then. Was like you're staying in your centre, you're staying in your own lane, you're
Yeah.
staying in your power.
Yeah, and
Of who
life's
you wanna
such
be, who
a
you are.
journey. You know, 1
Yeah.
year you're going to have this crazy year where you're like, you know what? Work isn't my priority. I'm going to go have fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And you learn a lot about yourself and you need to do it. And then the next year, you know, is completely different. But
Yep.
I think it's so nice to have that single time where you go out and I think everyone should go travel the world by themselves, because you learn so much from traveling alone.
Yes.
You just find, you know, I've always been pretty okay with talking to people in most situations, but I'd still get a little shy.
Yeah.
So when I started traveling on my own more, I was like, okay, I'm not allowed to leave this bar until I talk to 2 people. And so I would sit there and I'd talk, and I just got better at communicating with people and, you know, finding all different people from different walks of life. And even if you're uncomfortable, you start to get better at it. And
well, you learn a lot about yourself in those situations.
And
how to handle yourself.
Exactly. And you can learn so much from people, and you can't judge a book by its cover. And
that's a big one,
you can meet such beautiful people on an airplane or at an airport that you didn't think, you know, that
that's
you'd necessarily meet. But
And
just getting out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
That's, if you always stay in your comfort zone, you're never going to grow.
No, that's a huge saying for us. We love that saying. It's like, you know, you sometimes have to push yourself, and it's not always easy, you know. Sometimes you just have to suck it up and say, no, I'm doing this, because you're the only one that's at the end of the day has got to make that choice. No one's going to make it for you.
Exactly. And I had this life coach who, when I was going through, you know, a bunch of the stuff with my dad, she had a really big impact in my life, and her name was Cat Hug. So if you ever listen to this, you're amazing.
Is that her name?
Yeah.
How beautiful.
She just hugs people with her last name, but she's
sweet.
incredible. But she told me that you know, recognizing your ego and your higher self. And sometimes if we're fearful to do something, we think, oh, I just have a bad feeling about it, I shouldn't do it. But if there's emotion attached to it, because you're like, oh, and I wouldn't be very good at that, like, you know, and you have fear around it, it's a sign you should do it, because it's your ego telling you not to do it because it doesn't want you to grow.
Yeah.
So it's recognizing what is your ego, what is your higher self, and what fear do you have that you actually need to go after. Because I would have things I'd say to her, I don't know if I should do this, I feel like this about it, and she's like, that's a sign you should do it. But if you have a feeling you shouldn't do something and there's no emotion attached at all, then that's not something you need to do.
Yeah.
So just recognizing like how you grow and putting yourself out there, because I was like, should I really go across the world and host Israel Fashion Week? I don't know anything about hosting, or you know, and I don't think I was necessarily the greatest at it. I was okay, but it got me out of my comfort zone. And then the next time I did it, I was better. And without, you know, practicing or putting yourself out there, you're never going to improve at things.
Absolutely.
You'll just stay in your bubble.
And that's one of the hardest things that people say, to understand themselves, to know that voice inside the head, whether to trust it or not.
The higher self.
Whether it is just because they're, you know, whether it's their mind or their brain, you know, those patterns that keep us in a loop, or whether it is something that's we've learnt and made it our own, and it's not necessarily in our best interests. What you just described then is quite a clear-cut way of discriminating against that negativity and cutting it out, or those limitations. And trusting yourself when you need to trust yourself, that intuition or your higher self.
And a lot of the time we know the answers, we're just too afraid to necessarily like have the truth from ourselves. You know, but deep down, you know, often we know.
I believe that too. I think we always know. Sometimes we just don't want to.
We want to make excuses why that might not be the case. But we know.
No, that's spot on. So moving on to another question. What kind of things have happened or are happening to you or for you with this new awareness or this awareness? You know, you've been through that family grieving process, and then you've come out of the relationship where you've realised that you were kind of in a cage for a while. You've had your yes years.
You found yourself.
What other things are happening around you or for you? Are you noticing anything shifting, or are you changing? Do you feel a change in yourself then?
I think the thing to know is we're constantly changing. And if you're not changing, then, you know, I saw a really good a meme. It was like about a butterfly, and it said to the cocoon. The cocoon said to the butterfly, "You have changed," and the butterfly said, "We're supposed to." And I was like, it's so true. Like, you know, we're supposed to change and grow every week, and if we're not, then what are we doing? You know. And I think then moving to LA set me back and found all my own new challenges, because that's a whole nother world. You're trying to navigate, you know, another country that you know nothing about. And in Los Angeles, like, it's a hard place to live. Like, there's a lot of people there that value the wrong things. And I've been really blessed with really good friends, but I have a belief that I can move anywhere in the world and I'll find the greatest friends in the world.
I was about to say
and I
that's a
always
reflection
do.
of who you are,
Yeah,
that
I was
you've
gonna
got
say,
great friends, because, you know, you've found the same tribe.
That law of attraction.
That law of attraction.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so, you know, you can live anywhere and find great people and be happy, but Los Angeles is definitely a very challenging place to live, because a lot of people move there to pursue a dream, and they're hustling, and you know, you look at people, they're either broke or they're loaded, and it's like hard to find the middle ground. I've had friends that have gone from sleeping in their car to being multimillionaires in the space of you know, a year or two. And
which can be quite terrifying in itself, you know.
Yeah.
If you don't have people around you that can
exactly. And then
support
it's
you
like,
through
do they like me because of what I can offer? Do they like me because I'm a good person? Or and there's all of that stuff too. So it's definitely been its own challenge. And you know, you're away from your family, so you're a little more vulnerable because you don't have your usual support system. But it's also a beautiful thing, because you're like, I get to start fresh. Like, no one actually knows anything about me except for what I tell them. And that's really fun and cool in itself. And I'd always wanted to live overseas and go and experience new life, because a lot of people just never leave the town that they're in, and it's a cool thing to be able to just get up and go live somewhere else. And
well, it takes a very powerful, special kind of person to be able to do that too. You know, it's like you're not just the ordinary girl next door. It's like,
thank you.
And, you know, I think we take a lot of that stuff for granted. You know, where what you've done and
because how you
path you've walked is really
it's big things we've been covering, and yet
you
said earlier,
talk about it so easily. You know, it's really, it's a beautiful.
I think the trick is, if you have a dream, just go for it and be like, I'll figure it out along the way. Because if you try to have a plan, like, I didn't have a visa when I moved to America. I went over on an ESTA visa. I didn't know anything about the visa process. But I was like, you know what? I'll figure it. If it's meant to be, I'll figure it out. And if I knew how hard it would be, I wouldn't have done it. But then when you're in it, you're like, okay, this is hard, but how can what can I do to get this? And people see, like, social media, the fun, and, you know, everyone's happy self, but they don't see, like, the hours and hours you spend grinding to try and, like, get your visa, and how hard it is. And it's $10,000 US, and it costs, you know, so much money. And if you get denied, you have to go home and you don't get any of your money back. So it's definitely, it's scary and it's hard, but the reward is you did something where you're like, oh, I did that. And so I appreciate my visa so much, because I know how hard I worked for it.
And you know, it's investing yourself in all ways, isn't it? Like, and choosing, like you said earlier, oh, I'm going home next week, and you mean you're going home to LA. Like, LA's home, isn't it? Put roots down.
I feel like I have a few homes.
You have a few homes.
But it's nice. It does feel like home now. I mean, it won't be home forever. I couldn't stay there forever. But you know, at least the next year.
Where your heart is, and where your home is.
Yeah, exactly. So see where the world takes me.
Yeah, I like that attitude. I was going to say something.
That's going to be actually interesting. I'm just thinking about that, because that's the attitude that's got you this far. There's a pretty big expanse out in front of you if that's where you're going to keep going.
I know. I feel like this last year was a good year for me. But I feel like this year everything's kind of settled back with COVID, because even COVID had its own. You know.
Were you in LA when all that went down, or were you here?
Yeah, I just came back for the first time in 3 years.
Oh, wow.
I haven't been home.
Okay.
Because I didn't want to. I refused to do a 2-week quarantine in a hotel. And pay for it. I was like, no. I would go crazy. And then I was renewing my visa last Christmas, so then I couldn't leave the country, and. So I hadn't been home in so long. So that was that was a roller coaster. Like, I went through months where I was having the best time of my life, living the craziest stories. I was like, I feel like my life is a movie. And it was pretty cool. But then I had moments where I was, you know, so lonely and depressed and sad, and it was a roller coaster for sure, because it's, you know, the world was shut down.
Yeah.
Because you said before earlier when we were chatting about, you know, when you went through a time of depression, and that taught you that you never wanted to be depressed again, which also helped you, like, with your dad. And but just hearing you then say about being lonely, and if you don't have tools, that's pretty can take a lot to get out of those places, can't it?
Yeah, well, I think, like, you know, a lot of those tools is you go to a workout class and all that stuff is taken away in COVID when it's lockdown. So it's like navigating a new life of how do I come through this in a positive way when all the ways I always felt positive are kind of locked down now. And so it was, you know, had its own challenges, but
and you couldn't work because
like I didn't do one audition for about a year and a half, and so me and my girlfriend, actually, we started doing these during COVID, these commercials for our friend had this, like, company, and he would sell, like, random things, and we started making commercials for it. And she would film because she's got a camera and stuff, and I would be in the commercials, and I was like, you know how you think you're going to move to Hollywood and make it, and I'm making a sponge commercial? Classic. And we would just crack up, like, no one's ever going to see these. And then funny. Someone sent it to my sister, was like, is this your sister? And I was like, that's so embarrassing. How do I burn it?
It's practice makes perfect.
But that's how we, like, stayed a little bit sane and made some money during COVID, because there was nothing going on. So, like, you know what, let's do it. But
and you also had, like, I was thinking too, because I remember some pretty challenging photos around, like, because the Black Lives Matter movement and stuff like that, like, when that, you know, there was so much happening on the streets then as well too.
I mean, even it feels like a lifetime ago almost. It's been so many different stages in LA, but that was insane in itself, because, you know, there's all the rioting and cars are getting burnt, and there's police in their big little fighter things with the tanks with machine guns on the corners, and everyone's looting and smashing the windows, and people are walking out with, like, surfboards and random thing. I was like, I kind of want a surfboard, but I'm never going in. But
raiding Walmart.
I went to some of the protests, and it was actually, I went to the peaceful ones. Of course, some of them got out of hand, but it was a really beautiful and emotional experience, because you have all these people of all different, you know, different races and all coming together, fighting for
something they're passionate about.
A justice that, because in America it's just so sad how many black men and women are getting taken advantage of by the police. And it was, I just remember marching, and they're like doing, I can't even remember all the chants now, and everyone's chanting, and I just had a tear roll down my eyes, because I was like, it's so beautiful that, you know, everyone's coming together for
a common cause.
And out of a place of, like, in those moments, it was love. And it was a really beautiful thing to see, and you know, a big move in history. That's
exactly what you're saying. My daughter went to one down in Coolangatta when it was on, but it was more around the Indigenous here. And she said at the end there was a whole heap of Indigenous tribe members that got in a circle, and then included some other people into the circle. And my daughter said, Mum, I just stood there and cried, because it was just so beautiful. What I felt was this inclusivity and togetherness, and, you know, sacredness to the land and everything. And it's a little bit different but it's the same kind of core message, but
it's coming
just how powerful.
It's like, I look at my little nieces, and they're just so sweet, because I feel like in England it's very, like, their school's very multicultural, almost them being white are the minority, which is really beautiful, and that's why my sister loves, you know, being over there. But my little niece will be like, you know, my friend with the brown hair, or this, and, like, she'll never say their skin color, which is so beautiful, because she's just, you're like, oh, which one? And you'll be like, you'll say the names, and she'll be like, you know, with the brown hair or blonde hair, and she just says, like, the hair color, or like, never once says, like, someone's skin color, and it's just so sweet, because it's a new generation, whereas
They don't see.
yeah,
They don't see past
And the
that.
environment that they're the environment that encompasses
Yeah,
that
all of
generation
it.
as well, like, you know, being the language in the family home or the language in the community is inclusive and just not discriminatory or separatist.
It's just such an. It feels like it's such an old way of living now. You
Yeah.
know, we've become. We're becoming more of a one whole, you know, race. So hopefully that's where we're headed.
Well, I think it's just education too.
Yeah.
Like moving to America, I didn't even realize how strong racism was a thing until
Yeah.
I got to America, and I had friends educate me, and you know, you start to learn, and it's like, wow, this, I've been so sheltered my whole life because
Yeah.
I've never experienced any of these things, and you
In
realize,
Austinville, yeah, absolutely.
yeah, you realize
Yeah.
how blessed you are. I mean, I grew up around a lot of, you know, Aboriginal
Yeah.
kids and stuff, and we'd all go play footy down at the Oval.
Yeah, yeah.
But you realize, you know, we were sheltered, as we never had to deal with a lot of things that some people unfortunately have to deal with, and
Well, that are being brought to the surface more than ever now.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's really interesting. But back to you. Let's get
Yeah.
back to you, girlfriend.
back to me.
because it's exciting.
Yes. So is there anything that you decided to change about you moving forward, or anything that you won't change about you?
I think there's always things we're changing, and as you know, as we learn and become more educated in life, and I even noticed this with my mum. My mum, she's a little darling, bless her soul, but growing up in a very Christian family, you know, sometimes you can be more judgmental of certain things, and I believe with religion you should be the least judgmental.
Yeah.
Like, who are you to judge? And so I think as I got older, I learned more about, like, just accepting people for who they are and where they are, and letting people be on their journey, and not you know, judging people for how they want to live their life.
Absolutely.
Each to their own. But I think things that I didn't want to change is, like, no matter how much I work in LA or how much I don't work, or I need to remember who I am, and acting isn't who I am, it's just what I do.
Yeah.
It's not the core of me, and always stay true to yourself, be a good person, be kind,
Yeah.
and you know, live a life that where you get to bless others, and you know,
just
not-
stay true to you.
stay true to you. I heard someone say, when you this is more based on fame, but when people become famous or wealthy, really wealthy, they just heighten who they really are. So if someone's already a bit of an asshole, they become more of an asshole.
I have actually heard that too. Yes.
And if they're really kind and giving and generous, then
Yes.
they become more kind and giving and
Yes.
generous. And so I think you know, it's important to stay true to who you are. And
I agree.
if I ever became, you know, a little diva, my mum would slap me and bring me back down to earth. but you need those people in your life that keep you grounded, because it's easy to get lost in the world of things that don't matter. And it's nice just coming home and wearing bare feet and going to the beach. I'm like, oh, this is so simple and nice.
Yeah.
Jumping off the Talabridge Bridge.
Yeah, you're never too old to jump off Tally Bridge. I made my friend come with me yesterday. She'd never done it. I was Jess, and I was like, all right, we're going to jump off the bridge.
It is a little bit.
And her and I were there, and you know,
Along with
we're
every other
the
under
oldest there,
15-year-old
and
girl.
everyone else is 15. I was like, this
I
is
go
the
past and
best.
nearly crash because it's like just a wall of G-strings. I'm like, oh my
I
God.
know.
It's like they're all
I
on the
was-
bridge. And it's like, yay, go girls.
I know, so I was like, this, you know, I was the oldest there, but
And you're giving that sort of leave of faith off.
it was fun. But that's the other thing, is I think, like, no matter how old you get, it's so important to do things that make you feel like a kid again.
Yeah.
That make you forget to check your phone and just
Yeah.
be present, because
Yeah.
they're the moments that really, you know, life can be tough. Life is brutal, and there's hard things in life. But if you still have those things that you do that are fun, and
absolutely.
you know, you remember what's important, and you're ultimately always going to be happier.
Yeah.
if you do those things.
So sweet.
Keep
And it's simple.
refreshing
Yeah,
the-
simple as jumping off a little bridge.
Yeah, absolutely. That brings you joy, and it takes you back to times when you were, you know, in those joyful moments as a young,
Being a kid.
with no worries,
Yeah.
you know. All of that comes
You
rushing
didn't know
back.
about insurances
Yeah.
and bills and
yes, mortgages and whatever else. Yeah,
exams and things like that.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's really special. That's really beautiful.
So in in all this kind of I guess I keep wanting to say like
Adventuring.
that's it, just movement and adventure. Like was there things that you like people that you left behind along the way that didn't sort of come with you?
Yeah.
As you just kept
I think
being
as you
you
get
and-
older, you kind of eliminate people as you go and you meet new people. But my life coach, Kat, she said to me once, she's like, you'll meet people and you're on the same vibration in life.
Yeah.
And if you're no longer on the same vibration, you're vibrating up and they might not be, or vice versa.
Yeah.
People will drop off from your life because they're no longer at the vibration that you're at and that you need to keep growing.
Yeah.
And so you're always going to drop people off. Like I've had people that are really negative and I'm like, you know what? I will stop hanging out with them because I'm like, I just don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
I don't want to be involved in gossip or this or that because it lowers your vibration. So
I like Kat Hugs.
Yeah.
Kat
Oh,
Hugs.
she's
I love
amazing.
her. Yeah, she's full of wise advice.
She is so wise.
Yeah. The
But-
frequency vibration thing's huge.
Yeah, and it just makes you not feel so sad if someone does drop off from your life, you know, and you go, you know what, I'm vibrating up and it's no longer serving
Yeah.
the path that I need to go in.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
people will drop off and
And a lot of the times that just naturally happens anyway.
I think too,
allowing that.
either getting good at cutting people off, because if you don't, they'll drop off and then you'll think like,
What did I do wrong?
what did I do wrong or whatever, but really that person didn't need to be in your life anymore and you probably should have cut them off.
Yeah.
But the universe will take people out of your life for you if you don't do it
Absolutely.
yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But when you do it yourself, it's empowering and you go, you know what, I got rid of these things in my life that were no longer serving me.
Yeah.
And then you feel empowered because you're like, you know what, I'm making decisions that are best for me.
Yeah.
And it makes you feel good about it. It makes you feel your self-worth goes up and you feel like you're doing what you need to do instead of being like knowing you need to do something and avoiding it because you don't have the strength to do it.
It makes you feel tired, and it's you feel like you're literally dragging those chains of with boxes of concrete behind you, don't you? Like you don't know why you're feeling tired or feeling sick or this or that.
Yeah,
until you make some decisions, and you know, for whatever reason, those decisions, as you say, the universe does it for you, or one day you go, oh, hang on a minute, I don't want to do that again. No, I'm not catching up. And then the next day you wake up and you're sort of like, oh, I should feel good today.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Yeah, you feel good. So and it all comes back to the decisions we make.
Not being afraid to make decisions.
Yeah.
So procrastination doesn't come into your life very often?
No, I'm a big procrastinator. I am bad. I read this book called The 5 Second Rule.
Yeah.
You don't need to read the whole book. Essentially, it's make a decision in 5 seconds.
It's a big book.
It's a big book. And, you know, I feel half the time I'm like, these books could be 10 pages long and I'd get the message. But basically, it's like if you don't know if you want to go to the gym, you're like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, I'm going.
Yeah.
And so counting down from 5 and just making a decision, because we waste so much time trying to make a decision, and I'm indecisive, so it's good for me.
Yeah. I've heard that too. The whole making decision thing is so powerful because we're putting in our vortex straight away, you know, when we make the decision. But I love the 5 second rule.
Yeah.
Mine's probably about a minute.
Yeah, I know.
Make it
See, you can lower that down now. Save yourself some seconds in there.
I probably have a 5 second rule, but I probably do it twice, and then that's the problem.
Yeah. I also have a 5 second rule for when I drop food.
Oh yeah,
that's a given.
You sure know that
Don't waste anything.
That must be in LA because in Australia
Nah,
it's 10
I tell you what,
seconds.
I'll eat anything off the floor in Australia. LA, no.
No, nothing.
I won't even have shoes in my apartment in LA. I'm
Yeah.
like horrified.
Yeah.
It's my one rule, no shoes in my apartment. I know what's on these streets and it's not pretty.
Well, Brooke, you've given us some really amazing advice, but is there any advice that stands out above everything else that you can share with our listeners that's kind of supported you throughout your journey, and something that kind of stays with you every day? You know, we have those things where we just go back to, that's our core belief or stable point, or something that someone might have said to you or taught you.
I'm trying to think. That's such a good question. I come back in a week and say it. No, just kidding.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can come back
I'll
next
email
week.
it in.
It could be the 4-second rule. It could be, there's so many pieces of nuggets that you've given us throughout the whole podcast. It's been amazing.
I think the biggest thing is we always have a choice.
Yeah.
And that choice is up to you.
Yeah.
You know, if you think you can do something, you can do it. If you think you can't, you can't.
Yeah.
And it's so simple, but we have a choice. And I need to take my own advice, because I definitely have had my own, moments of struggle as well. But ultimately, we can choose what thoughts we listen to. We can choose who we have in our life. We can choose to be happy that day. We can choose, and sometimes obviously it's easier said than done.
Yeah.
But ultimately, like, we have a choice. And
Absolutely.
choose happy, choose what's good for you.
Yeah.
And
then
those
that-
tough days, phone a friend,
Yeah.
you've got that tribe, right? But
Yeah.
if you've got those trees instead of the holes in
Yeah,
your
well,
brain, it's kind of
Hard times
tending
don't
to
last.
Yeah.
We can get through anything.
Yeah, that's a beautiful thing right there, because, we are powerful human beings. We can do anything. And I think a lot of people have lost faith in that. Like that, there's a lot of people that like to throw the victim card out, or I can't do it, or whatever. And it's like, you're so much more powerful than we even think or believe or know or understand. There's so much more greatness inside of us that's still yet to be discovered. And I think what you've been doing, the yes couple of years, and the moving outside your comfort zone and kind of living on the edge, is the only way we are going to learn and learn how powerful we really are.
Yeah, and also being, intentional with our thoughts and the things we want. Like, I do my gratitudes every day.
Yeah.
Either in the morning or at night, and especially if I'm feeling down, and I just write things that I need to remember. I'll write things like, I am chosen, or I am worthy, or I'm, things I might be struggling with that day. Thank you that I'm healthy. Thank you that I can have a conversation, I can eat food. Like, even just the simple things, there's always things to be grateful for. And when you live life through a place of gratitude, life just blossoms, because you're focusing on all the beautiful things in life.
Yeah, well, it's what you said at the start when you're going through the stuff with your dad, how you learnt that the thoughts in the brain, and how, they're so powerful. The gratitude is so powerful in that context, because you're writing down what you want and what you believe, which are thoughts.
Yeah, and
putting that vibration out.
You put it out there, and you can manifest things. Like, I just look back at all the crazy things I've manifested in my time. I'm always good at manifesting things I don't care too much about.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, isn't it? Like you were saying before about not having too many details around the things. The attachments as well is another part of that, isn't it? Not being too attached, because there's a freer space around it then, isn't it?
Like the simple things. Like, I went to the Super Bowl last year, and all week everyone's like, what are you doing for the Super Bowl? I was like, I'll probably just go to the Super Bowl. And like, you don't just go to the Super Bowl. And I was like, no, I probably will.
Sold out months ago.
I'll probably go. And then, all week still was just like, I'll probably end up at the Super Bowl. I got given tickets to the Super Bowl the day of, to a suite, and I got 2 tickets for me and my best friend, which would have been like 20 grand a ticket.
Yeah.
Whoa.
And I went back the next week, and everyone's like, what the hell? You were saying all last week you'll end up at the Super Bowl. I was like, I told you I'd probably go. And it was just like a fluke.
So powerful.
Just alignment of things.
Yeah, just, ended up there that day.
Yeah.
Just was randomly given these tickets. And
you had to
I didn't even care for the Super Bowl, but my best friend, she always wanted to go.
Yeah.
So I was just happy that...
What a beautiful gift.
That I could take her. But little things like that can manifest. But then when you're really, attached to an outcome, it's harder. So it's knowing to, like, set your intentions and just know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And letting it go.
I guess that's the true test, isn't it? Like, knowing that the fun things kind of turn up, but the things that you really want, that are really in your heart, like, just really are holding true to course.
Yeah.
Don't pull down the sails and, you know, give up too soon, because I think those things are the greatest challenge, you know, that we want to have come true, come real. And that question of, do I really deserve that? Underline it perhaps, or is this really my life after all?
Deserve, you know? You deserve anything that you want, you know? And I think you put your mind to, you can have it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that whole intention process is very powerful and important.
Yeah.
So in acting, I just want to ask, because along that lines of like knowing who we are and that intention, true intention, like in acting, is it a bit of fun just to kind of be a bit vicarious, you know, like different roles and being different people and expressing different emotions out that way? Do you find that quite cathartic, or like a little bit?
What would be the ultimate role for Brooke?
Yes.
What would you love to play? Let's manifest this.
Yeah, I know. Let's all put it out there. Yeah. I feel like I get asked this question all the time. It's a hard one because I'm like, there's so many roles I want to play.
Yeah.
But I mean, playing something like Wonder Woman,
yeah,
you know, where you're in a Marvel movie and you get to do like action stuff, and
but you're amazing because you do all your own stunts and stuff. Like
you could totally be a Wonder Woman.
Yeah,
I could see that for sure.
So fun.
Yeah.
That would be so fun. Yeah. But then I also love the deep, emotional, dark things. But then I also want to do like romantic comedies.
Yeah.
I can see you, Julia Roberts, kind
I'm
of
such a
scenario.
sucker for a rom-com. Yeah. I love Julia Roberts.
Yeah.
Notting Hill, my favourite movie. But it's fun. Like earlier, I filmed 2 movies at the end of this year, and the first one, basically, it was an all-black cast, and I'm the white girlfriend who thinks she's down with the culture.
Okay, cool.
So I'm like the comedic relief of the film that everyone's probably gonna, the girl in everyone will probably hate in a movie. But it was funny because I actually had to play a character that was so far from me. I had these, like, I'm such a tomboy at heart. I had these long nails.
Oh, wow.
Every day I would break at least one, so they had to keep redoing my nails every day. I'm like, I'm so bad at this. They braided my hair. I had like big, huge hoops on.
Oh,
and, like,
did you put a photo on your Instagram?
Yeah.
I saw it and I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
Check it out, people.
And so I got to play this character. It was just, you know, so far from who I was. But then you still have to connect to it and find reasons that, you know, you can relate to her and ground her. And it'll be interesting to see how it comes across, because I found it was a really hard a challenging character for me to play. And then I just filmed another movie where I got to pretty much play myself, but more so my bogan teenage self. Yeah. The character's on the back of a motorbike cruising through the desert and looking for gold, and I smoke cigarettes the whole movie.
Yeah.
I swear a lot, and like she's, you know, this kind of a bit more tough character that, you know, so I went from playing this very girly, big long-nailed to this chick cruising around on the motorbike with cigarettes.
Yeah.
I was like, I love my
Which
job.
must be hard to make it look real, because like I've maybe smoked half a cigarette, and it was really hard just to smoke that half cigarette. And you're not a smoker either.
No, I'm not a smoker. Funny enough, I mean, I
got in the
smoked here
character
and there as a teenager when I had a few drinks thinking I was cool, you know.
Yeah.
But I haven't smoked since. But the hardest part was my voice every night after smoking all day, because you really smoke the cigarettes, but they're not nicotine, they're just herbal.
Oh, cool.
But you're still inhaling the smoke.
Herbal cigarettes, okay.
My throat, and I was starting to lose my voice. So I had to drink like lemon and honey every night that I could not lose my voice for filming the next day. And
these are American films?
My fingers at the end of the day stunk of cigarettes. I was like, I'm horrified. How do people do this? But yeah, they were both American films.
Okay, so you have to have the full American accent and everything in those.
Sorry. The first film I had to do an American accent.
Yeah.
The second one I got to do Australian accent.
Okay.
Because they gave us the movie script the day before we started filming.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's challenging.
So originally they wanted American. That actually, since we've just given you the script today and you start filming tomorrow, you can do your natural accent. And it was so nice being able to act in your natural accent, because you just have a freedom, and it was definitely the most comfortable I felt on a movie set.
Well, it's one part of your brain's kind of not concentrating on the talking part.
When you're doing an accent and then you want to improvise, like you just have another element of being like, like I want to say this, but how, you know, the inflection's different, and it just adds another thing where you're a little, another layer of something you have to think about.
Complexity, yeah.
Whereas when you get to use your natural accent,
You flow.
you just flow.
Yeah.
It's so easy. And I was like, this is so fun. I will hate watching it because I hate the sound of my own voice. But whereas if I hear myself in American, I don't mind it because it doesn't sound like me.
Yeah.
But so I'll probably hate watching it. But it was really fun.
That's
I
so
had a
cool.
great time filming that.
Especially being in the desert at night and
Yeah, it was
all this,
cool. And, you're shooting 12-hour days, but not once do I get tired or...
Yeah.
I'm like, I love this.
That's when you know what you're
Yeah.
doing something you love.
It's fun. It's good. And then, people come up, like, knock on your trailer. Can I get you a coffee or a water? And oh, yeah, actually.
just for the experience, I'll have a
Do you
glass
have
of
any
water.
snack? And they bring you, like, a plate of snacks. And you're like, just take these. And,
Yeah.
but it's fun. I love it. But
Yeah. That's
And
so
you
cool.
also have an alter ego, don't you? Like,
Oh.
does she help you navigate life every now and again?
Oh yeah, so I created this character that started off as a joke, and I mean it's still a joke, but her name's Peggy, and it's just me with like this red wig that's almost like Kath and Kim style.
Okay.
And I just started
Is Peggy on Instagram?
She's on Instagram,
Okay.
but she did get hacked, and then she started DMing people trying to sell them Bitcoin.
Oh,
And so then I-
naughty Peggy.
So then I had to make her a new. Then I had to make her a new account.
Oh wow.
But I take her on every snow trip because she loves to snowboard.
Yeah.
I even talk about her in third person.
Yes.
But basically, like, the idea behind it was it's me if I had no insecurities or fears.
Okay.
And so we actually might be making a show about it in LA. One of my friends,
That would be so good.
a producer,
so
and she's like,
beautiful,
I want to make this a show. So
Yeah.
who knows? You may see a Peggy show come out in the next few
I
years.
can't
But
wait.
I think that'll be.
it'd be so funny. But the
Yeah.
idea is that if we
She might get on Oprah.
were truly just
Oprah.
who we are, if we were just truly who we are, you live a happier life. People fall in love with you because, we're so sheltered in sometimes the things we say, and we're scared to really show the world who we are. But whenever I'm Peggy, people love her.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, do you want Brooke to come or Peggy? And they always say Peggy.
Yeah.
Because, she has no fears. She'll dance in public
Yeah.
and be silly and, like, have a good time. And because I feel like it's me, but it's not.
Yeah.
You know, like, I have this thing. And then during quarantine, I created a Bumble profile for her.
Oh no. I bet you had heaps of hits.
I am not kidding. She matches with everyone.
Oh, wow.
Like, it just became a party trick that I'd show people because I don't have Bumble or anything like that. But it just became a party trick where I would show people and I'd just swipe to everyone. It would be like 10 yeses in a row. I'm like,
Wow.
Peggy, people love Peggy.
Peggy's hot. Peggy's like
Yeah.
full of life. Yeah.
People
You
be
just
like,
need
well,
to bring Peggy out full time without the wig.
it was her birthday in June. I mean, not in June, December. My birthday's in June. Peggy's birthday.
So you're
in
forgetting,
December.
yeah.
Yeah, we're becoming one.
And actually,
Yeah.
I've noticed too, like, sometimes I've seen, like, some of your friends have wanted to be Peggy, so, like, you've shared her around.
Oh, yeah,
and
we-
they pop the wig on and they
we-
instantly become this.
I go snowboarding a lot in the winter, and I go with one of my best friends, Shelby, and her family, and they're so much fun. But we'll do like pub crawls across the mountain as we snowboard, and so whoever buys that round at that pub has to wear Peggy until we
Oh.
snowboard to the next pub.
Yes.
And so we just go across the mountain all day, and it's like multiple Peggy instead of multiple chairs. But
I love it.
Yeah.
musical chairs,
Yeah.
multiple.
Yeah.
musical Peggy. My bad. But yeah, she's brought a lot of joy to
Yeah.
people over the years.
And that's the main thing.
It's
That's
so
you,
fun.
honey. That's
Yeah.
you, really. It's just you.
It's just, and if everyone just was
Yeah.
their goofy self, people would love them.
Yeah.
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 But
We're
we-
so conditioned and so.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's rules
we
and
think there's a
regulations.
certain way we have to act and be
Caught up in being
be
cool.
accepted. Whereas if we're just truly ourselves, then
Yeah.
who cares if people don't like you? Because you're having a good time and they're missing out.
Well, you actually end up attracting your own tribe, you know.
Of course,
'cause
yeah.
You're being your
So
true
now I have 10
self.
friends that also have wigs with alter
Yeah.
no, I'm kidding.
Absolutely.
Oh, the highest card in the tarot is the Fool.
Yeah.
That is the
Okay.
highest card in the tarot, and it's and it encompasses all aspects of intelligence, emotional, but it comes from the place of being humble enough to be the fool, and not being afraid to be seen as the
Yeah.
fool, or not caring about being seen as the fool.
Yeah,
So Peggy's like,
she's my fool.
yeah,
She is.
she's
beautiful.
breaking boundaries.
Yeah, she is.
That's
Is
so
you
cool.
beautiful? Yeah, that's just a beautiful share. Thank you, Brooke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for
Pleasure.
coming on and sharing.
Thank you.
All
for
of you.
yeah. Rambling on. I can do that.
No, yeah.
And Peggy. Thank you,
And
Peggy,
Peggy.
for coming too.
We'll put Peggy's, Brooke's details.
Yes.
Yeah.
Brooke has an Instagram account that will pop on the bottom of this podcast, and look out for her movies. Do you know? Are you allowed to say the name of the movies?
Yeah. The one of the films is called 12.
Yep.
And the other film is called The Iron Door.
Oh wow!
So I
Fantastic.
think both of them will probably come out this year.
Yeah.
Probably in one of the streaming services.
Yep. Yay.
Yeah. So
Look forward to that.
cool to see it.
Yeah.
Very proud of you,
And good
girl.
luck with everything in the future. And thank you for giving. I'm sure there's going to be so many people out there now going, "I'm doing the yes year."
Yes.
Yeah, honestly, go do it.
It's
Yeah.
getting, yeah.
One of the best years of my life.
Yeah.
Or
Thank
two,
you.
So much
can it
fun.
be two of the best years
of
of
my
your
life.
life?
Yeah.
Yeah. Fantastic. Thank you, honey.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you,
Bye.
gorgeous.
Thank you for listening, and remember, all links to our guest are in the notes. Leave us some comment here or message us on Instagram how our guest today connected with you, or perhaps something you wish to share. A special thank you to the blissful Ksenia Luki for our theme song. Joe and I will be with you next week.
Bye.
Ciao.
She teaches me lessons, and boy does she sing. Her voice sways like a hummingbird, flies like a shooting star. She whispers, "You are."